Thanks for...
This meeting is being recorded.
Oh, there we go. Okay, we're being recorded. Thank you guys so much for being on today. And I'm excited for this panel. We'll have lots of good nuggets and takeaways to share with you guys. And if you did get to go to Austin, will you put in the chat so I'll know? And I'm assuming maybe many of you did not, and that's why you're on today, which is awesome. And thank you for being here. If you can, oh, Emily's on, yay. There's Kim, yep. If you are able to turn your cameras on, that would be amazing, because I think it is so much better for our speakers and our panelists. They can see you guys and they can interact, and you guys can see them. So thank you so much for those of you that can turn your panels on. Speaking of, I did learn at Mega Camp that Friday is the happiest day of the week. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. Statistically now, Friday is the happiest day of the week. Sunday is the least favorite because people dread Monday, which is so sad. Sunday is actually my favorite day of the week. Yeah. So yeah.
Go to church, you'll feel better.
I know, totally agree. Yes, good. Totally agree. So we've got some great panelists for you guys today, and I think you'll get a good wide variety of different ahas and takeaways. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, and I'm going to fill the chat, and I'll make sure I answer everyone's questions. And then, yes, we will send out the recording. And we also post it on our KW1 Team YouTube channel that you guys should be able to have access to as well. So let's kick it off with you guys just introducing yourself and maybe just saying how long you've been in the business and anything else that you would like to add. And we'll do ladies first. So Tammy, then Terrie.
Hi guys, I'm Tammy Hill. I am with the Legacy Group out of Richmond, Kentucky. I'm an agent. I'm also the Director of Agent Services, and I've been an agent for about 7-8 years, maybe going on 8 years, and in leadership for about 5.
Awesome. Thank you. The best of the best. Terrie, she's on. Terrie is my coach, by the way. People always ask me all the time, who is your coach? This is my coach. Woo!
Oh,
wow. Since 2015. Hi, Adam. I'm doing my best. Okay.
I won't tell you guys about how those two gang up on me all the time, though. I won't even start to go there. And then add Heather into the mix. I swear I think they get on a 3-way call to talk about me behind my back. They say they don't, but I think they do. So
the university, the universe is just speaking to us. That's it. I guess I should be proud to say I've been in real estate 39 years. Next year will be 40 years for me.
She started when she was 4.
I did not finish college like a lot of us. Had it in my family, so it's kind of a legacy with me. People say, what do you do? And I say, I change people so they can change their legacy, and that's part of my job. And in turn, it changes my legacy. So I love it. So I've been in real estate that long, opened the Keller Williams office with Sherry Lewis and Mo Anderson in 1996 in a little town called Owasso, Oklahoma, right outside of Tulsa. And I think I saw Elizabeth Raines earlier. She's rocking Tulsa. Way to go, Elizabeth. And I'm very, very proud to say, man, my kids have now been encouraged to be in real estate. So Mark Hill, who I see on here, so proud of my son-in-law, and Tara for jumping into real estate and carrying on the family legacy. They're going to rock it out. So you guys look out for them. Been a coach for 12 years, and don't just coach real estate, coach a lot of other things. So that's who I am.
She's the best. That's right. Crompton, go for it.
John Crompton. I am a realtor here in Charleston, South Carolina. Been in the business since 2007. I'm the reason it crashed. Sorry, it's just a funny joke. Sucked that year, but made it through. Been coaching with Roach since I've been at KW since 2014. I'm the #1 agent in Charleston for our company, so that's a little plug. So send me your referrals. I don't know what else. Father, 2 kids, beautiful wife. Happy life.
Awesome. Perfect. Mr. Dana Gentry. I love it.
I knew you'd get a kick out of that for sure. So yeah, I'm the least significant half of this marriage here, and happily married. Yes, it's fantastic. Let's see, Adam Roach is the name. I've been in real estate since the early 2000s. Entrepreneur at heart, inside of KW, team leader for many years, OP of 3 market centers, was a coach inside of KW. Now the founder of the I Love Coaching Company, where we have coaches all over the globe, clients all over the globe, and here's what we do. We help people do what they want to do. So excited for this panel, and yeah, this is going to be fun. And by the way, John Crompton is the #1 agent in Charleston. Yes, true story.
True story.
Okay, guys, awesome. So we've got a lot to cover, and I want to start with, there are so many questions around the industry. I do industry updates every month. So many agents are wanting to know what's happening with the industry. So as far as that, let's touch on that industry as a whole. Where do you guys see it going? What did you hear? What do you think are the things to watch out for and be excited about? And so we can just kind of popcorn around, whoever wants to go first on that, but let's just start with the industry as a whole.
I mean, truthfully, the industry as a whole is pretty much what you get to make it, meaning that if you don't know your numbers, you're not in the industry, and it doesn't matter, right? So you have to know your local numbers. You even have to know your numbers compared to the local numbers. And then you get to go tell the story of those numbers at whatever level you want to and whatever platform you want to. So, I mean, that's the simple of it. The market's going to be the market, in my opinion. You just get to play in the market, right? And how you choose to play in the market is going to be your choice. And we'll get to that in a minute, but that's what I think of the market.
Yep.
Yeah, it said they mentioned in here that let's see. Yeah, we don't make the market. Oh, shoot, go back to somebody else. Oh, yeah, the market doesn't determine your success. It simply determines your strategy. And
Love that.
Control it, your outlook and your responses to the market. So you just have to you can't control the market. You just can control what you do in it.
Yep. Love that. Love it. Terrie, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, honestly, I'm excited for it. From a coaching perspective, I've watched not just agents, but leaders live in the moment.
Yeah.
And we're at a time to get very strategic. And for someone that's been through like 4 different shifts, I think in my career, when I got in, interest rates was 16.5%. And you have to look at it through a lens of what matters is what I get up and do every day. And when we get focused on that and we start taking control of the business versus the business letting the business control us and our daily routines, then we can survive any kind of market. This is what this market will teach us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited because it's becoming a skill market, right?
Yeah.
And no disrespect if you got in the last 3 years, but the last 3 years has probably been the easiest time in real estate to walk into somebody and make a deal. Now it's going to become, you need to know your scripts. You're going to need to know your numbers. You're going to need to know, have to be on point as this market continues to get tougher. There's a third more realtors than the last time I think we had a shift, is what Gary said. So there's way more competition and way less inventory. So we're all fighting for the same deals. And if you get your skills correct, you'll take some more territory. And when the market does shift in the other direction, you'll take even more that way. And that's what's exciting about this time. He's been preaching it forever, and now finally get to use it, see it.
I remember being in the shift in Los Angeles when it was shifting. And here's the crazy part is I had never been through that type of shift. I mean, I was a .com buster kid that understood that world, but real estate shift, I didn't necessarily understand it. So it didn't really matter to me because we just kept doing business, right? You just keep to the basics and you keep doing business the skill-based way, right? You just get better at the skill. So the market is going to be what the market is. It's just, what are you going to do with the market?
Yeah, I think Gary said when he was in business, well, he just wanted to find people who are willing to transact business during the time, no matter what it is. There's always people buying and selling. Right. Those are the people I'm looking for.
Yeah, totally. I'm trying to, Abby, sorry, one sec, guys. Abby, could you try to make me co-host so I can maybe see if it'll let me post something in the chat? I was trying to drop something into the chat, but it's not letting me. I agree with all of you guys, and I think that's so great. And one of the big things that Gary keeps saying over and over, and any any economist will say this, that perspective matters. And now in this new market, in a shifting market, we just need to make sure that we are giving our clients the perspective. 2.9% interest rates are a gift. Like, that is unheard of. We've been spoiled. Everybody has been, they've received a gift that they'll probably never receive again. But just like
a gift.
Yes. Yeah. Just like Terrie said, when they were 16% and, 12 and 14 and even higher than that. So we have to give perspective, and the chart that I'm trying to drop in, and if I don't get to do that, I will email it out in the follow-up email, is the chart that Gary shared of the mortgage rates annually since 1972. That's perspective. Like, that is something to give your clients, to give them perspective, because right now all they're hearing is, oh my gosh, the rates are going up. The rates are going up. I can't afford it. I won't be able to afford my payment. I can't borrow what I wanted to borrow now. But really, it's perspective. Like, people are going to buy and sell, all the time, all day long. It's those 6Ds that he shared, that Linda McKissick and I can never remember. So when they put that on the slide, I text her, I said, this is it. Save this as a favorite in your phones. Because they're always going to buy or sell. We just have to give them perspective. And the other thing on the industry that I wrote down is we are going to see a decline. They are projecting we will see a 15 to 20% decline from last year. So they were projecting we were going to see 5.2 million homes closed this year, and now they're projecting 4.85 million. So, but just like Adam said and Terrie said, you have to know your numbers. I mean, this is what's going to set apart what's the best word to say it that's not in a negative way, the skill-based realtors from the ones that have just been in a speed-based market is a great way to say it. The reason why John said he's excited is because he knows the numbers. If you have never seen me share his newsletters, they are phenomenal. He educates. I share them all the time, John. But he's excited because he knows that he can thrive in a market like this.
John, I'm going to need you to add me to your email list. One thing I will say this too, one thing that he mentioned was the average home buyer right now is selling 25%. They're actually doing 25% of their income for a home they're buying. But he said back in the 80s, and probably what we're going to look for is 32 to 35% of their income is actually going to go towards a home because of the interest rate.
Wow. I see. This is why I love to do this, because I missed that number. So what was it one more time? How much of their income?
So right now it's like 25%, but he said it's going to be 32 to 35% is what it used to be back in the 80s. Is what he said.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
It was.
Okay. Any final thoughts on the industry? One thing I will say too is we're not gonna crash, you guys. Hopefully, I mean, no one's predicting that. They're predicting a balanced market again. So just knowing that, I think, should give you a little bit of comfort as well.
Yeah, I think the message is, it's not going to be an 2008 market crash as of, they're not predicting anything like that. We've been below the 4% trend line for over a decade in terms of your home price's value. And so the last 2 years is the first time, I believe, one of those charts, if I can remember correctly, we were over the 4% trend line. So we're not going to see 20% increase in value, but we're going to see 8%, maybe 4%. So make sure your homeowners know that, going forward, like, this isn't going to crash. Just, it's going to take longer to sell a home. It's going to take more than 14 days.
Well, here's the thing too. Go ahead, Terrie.
No, I was just going to say, based on what John just said, also, please pay attention to your local market. If you're on a coast, if you're on the East Coast or West Coast, your markets are going to change more rapidly than those of us that are in the middle part of the United States, right? So everybody's got to know their own market. Like, we may not crash here, probably not. We're kind of in the middle. What we might see happen on the East Coast or West Coast will just be kind of a warning sign of what could come at a lower or slower rate, right? So just make sure now's the time more than any other time to know your local market at a high level.
And one thing I was going to add on top of that, with perspective matters, perception's reality, right? So that's that, and that perception gets created sometimes, and a lot of times, from the news outlets in a negative way. One thing that I would highly recommend everyone learning to go read a book by John Maxwell called Everyone Communicates and Few Connect.
So
Right.
good.
If you want to
Uh-huh.
go connect with your people in this space of being the expert or the industry leader as it relates to knowing your numbers, learn to communicate, but connect with them, right? Get in that language, right? Learn the language of connecting. So you can change that perspective.
Yep. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, guys, let's see. Next step. So all realtors are business owners. I love that Tony DeCello tells us to stop calling ourselves realtors and call ourselves business owners. So for business owners, almost all of them are looking to grow their business, and many of them are looking to push through a ceiling. They've been doing the same amount. They just need to push through. What were your biggest takeaways for agent growth? So someone that's looking to really grow their business and push through their ceiling next year. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, first and foremost, I'll just speak real quickly. We got three coaches pretty much here. If you don't have a coach, get yourself a coach, because they're going to see through your BS. I'm not going to cuss on your Zoom. They're going to see through your BS. They're going to point you in the right direction. They're going to be focused on your goals. And I can speak that highly of my coach. He's been super focused on my goals. So you need the accountability. You need someone that's going to help you get to where you're going. So I'd hire a coach right off the rip. That's the number one thing I would do.
Yeah, we heard coaching a lot.
I would lead generate daily.
Yeah.
When you talk about the lead gen daily, Gary talks about how he hates to lead gen, but one thing that I love that he said, and I don't know, he's probably said this before and I just never heard it, but when he said that he hired a part-time college student to come in and hardly, he didn't pay him very much to do his lead gen for him every day. And that's when he really took off in his business. So, there's ways around doing, things that we don't want to do. We don't necessarily have to eat the frog. We can pay somebody else to eat the frog. So I like that. I thought about that when he said that. So I thought that was a good way.
The script, right? It's not lead gen. It's just having meaningful conversations with people who need my service.
Yeah, and he said that too. He said instead of
Love
calling it lead gen, he said, why don't we just say, instead of lead generation, say let's make new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Here's the thing that I would say about all of that. So the question is business owners to push through growth, to get to growth. I would stop listening right now and I'd open up your calendars. How much time do you have blocked practicing anything that you need to get better at? Anything, whether that is lead generation, like we're talking about, whether that is listing appointments, right? Your listing presentation, whether that is the buyer consultation. I mean, where is that on your calendar right now for practicing? That would be the very first thing that I would suggest doing for everybody and anybody, because you're good right now. Are you great though? Because as we move into a skill-based market, if I'm playing in this game, you're not going to beat me, right? Because I'm going to go practice more than you. So can you go practice more than the person sitting next to you in the next cubicle over? Because maybe you're not going on listing appointments right now. Maybe you're not having buyer consultations. And if you're not, that's great. Go practice more, right? Go practice.
Yeah, this is a time to get real and get right. And number one is with the calendar. You first have to know what has to be on your calendar, right? So go find the training, go listen to the talks again and go hear what the one thing is that resonates with you that you got to get right about your calendar. And I feel like a broken record because I don't feel like it's ever changed. If you're not getting up every day and talking to people, if you're not getting up every day and asking for referrals, and I like Adam's word, if you're not connecting, this business is nothing more than connecting. You can be sitting by a pool and having a conversation with somebody that turns into something else and you're creating follow-up. You've got to be constantly going, who can I connect with? And your calendar can look beautiful and pretty and all colorful and you don't follow it. So it's not just about getting your calendar right, but get real with it. Am I going to create a calendar that I'm going to follow? And if you don't know if you are going to follow it or not, test it out and get accountability around it. Mm-hmm. And then change it up, but get it right.
Love that. Yeah.
And Dana, you put this on a newsletter or you put it on one of your little newsletters, but I love this one. Gary said, do everything before noon.
Yeah.
the email, he's like, don't check emails, don't, get on the phone. Or the other guy said that, he said, because when you do that, he said, all that's just noise. He said, so do, the things that you need to do, that's part of your business, do that 80% in the morning before noon.
Yep.
And
Yep.
we're going to say things that you guys have all heard, and these are
Right.
takeaways from the event, though at the same time, to Terrie's point, accountability, if you don't have, I'm going to sound a little preachy here, and I apologize. If you don't have accountability in your world right now that doesn't scare the what out of you, you're not going to win at the highest level, right? You've got to have that accountability in that space, whether that's for practicing, whether that's for appointments going on, whether that's for lead generation, and high level accountability every single morning now for the last 5 years. And Crompton's part of it too. Every morning I text my accountability group individually, the 3 to 5 things that I will knock out for that day. And if I miss, there is $1 associated with that missing. And it's accountability, right? It scares me because I don't want to have to do that. Honey, don't worry. It's only $1,000 if I miss one of them. So it's not that bad, right? Yeah.
La,
Did
la,
you
la,
miss
la,
one last week?
la, la, la.
You know what?
But
And
get some accountability. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even, I see some other people on here I coach is like, I don't want to scare people. Like, I don't want to be a throat punch coach. I want to help people become so passionate. Like, find the people that want to become passionate about you and your life that they can just look at you and go, really?
Mhm.
All right, you didn't do it. And like, if you're afraid, then you're probably not going to do it. There's a whole nother thing we got to break through, right?
Yeah.
So like, anyway, basics.
Yeah,
Basics.
totally agree. What did you guys think? I love when Gary said about the lead gen time. He said it's just prospecting, and prospecting is nothing more than just checking in on people. It's not a transactional relationship. He said it's checking people and helping in on, and just helping them, checking in and helping them. And he said that you have to meet people every day, which was what Tammy said, meet people every day, build relationships with those people, and then figure out a way to provide value to them. And he said, if you can do those 3 things, like that's lead gen, that's prospecting. You just have to do it. And you have to be, I believe you have to be genuine and authentic when you do it. But I just think that's so powerful.
I think you also, going back to Terrie, she's like, if you're at a pool talking to people and you overhear a conversation, you jump in. It goes back to skill. You need to know how to say and what to say and when to say it, because if you're meeting strangers, you can have commission breath, or you can have, hey, I'm here to provide information and provide value, and it's your chance or your choice to one way or the other with it, right? Like, so I think you definitely need to go back into, it is all the basics. Practice your scripts, role play your presentations to the point where you're opening the door and you're figuring everything out. Like, it is, I've gotten away from it from the last few years. I know I have, but now it's time to get back into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And open up your MREA book and memorize page 138, which is the lead generation opportunities, right? That's your active and passive forms of lead generation. Let's see, I see that, see someone opening it up there. Hopefully that's the right page. Yep, there it is. 138 should show you the active and passive forms of lead generation. And what I would suggest doing there is, if we're talking about going back to the basics and going back to the question of pushing through for growth, is which ones have you mastered, which ones have you not mastered, and which ones are in your wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
Some people like to cold call, some people like to door knock, some people like passive forms of lead generation, right? It's pick the lane that works best for you, that maybe helps you grow faster, and stick with it, master it.
One more thing, he did say, as a business owner, right? We're all business owners. Gary did say something like, everyone you write a check to should be bird dog in your business, meaning like anyone you refer your business to, your closing attorneys, your titled person, whoever it is, you should have, if you're not getting business from them, it's time to have a conversation and say, hey, Adam, I really love you, man. That's why I send you all my business. I'm just curious, what can I do better in my business to earn your business and your friend's business? Because usually it's because we don't ask for it. So like, oh, I'd give it to you. I just didn't think you needed it, right? But you just need to have that conversation with them. And it does work, because I've done it with my client, my vendors list and all that. So
That's a huge point. I love that so much. Yeah, I love that.
I think I heard Gene Rivers one day do like a script that something, and I was like, that's impressive, and came back and did it.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
worked.
it is true though. I mean, I think this is all you ladies will understand this, but I think about how many people I refer to my friend who does my hair. And I mean, it's a lot, and I'm like, man, she should be sending me at least 1 or 2 people a year to Sarah and I that want to buy a house. I mean, so I think it's just we forget and we don't actually take the action to do it. I loved one thing that Gary said. Actually, no, Gary didn't say this. Who said this? Maybe Jen Davis or Dan Holt said this, but they said, when production is high, anxiety is low. And so for those of you that you are feeling yourself like anxious about the shifting market or the coming business, I just always remember that when production is high, anxiety is low. So if you're feeling that way, you just need to like get out and get into it, like get yourself into the busyness of production, because Terrie, what do you always tell me? Like just creating the action and getting into like the momentum of it will get you on your way.
It will draw you in. Absolutely. And honestly, when production, these past few years, production has been high and anxiety has been high.
Yeah.
And so from a coaching perspective and a mental health perspective, we're watching a lot of people that are either getting a whole lot better or they're spiraling backwards and they're in a reactivity cycle and they're just constantly reacting to everything that's going on in our world versus breaking that cycle and figuring out what they need to do to be different and stand out in this new market. And so you can get in momentum, just make sure it's the right kind of momentum. Take action in the right stuff. And again, that's one of the basic things in the MRE.
Yeah.
We can keep talking about the basics, right?
I love that. And Terrie, that when you say that, just get into the basics, and they talked about finding the one thing, like, he always talks about the one thing, but something that that you can do to help somebody, whatever that one thing is, that nugget for your client, find that and use that. And so that just kind of reminded me of that when you said that. So that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there was someone up on one of the panels. I don't remember which one it was, that I think had the goal was 20 conversations. That was it, right? 20 conversations a day. And that, yeah, I forget who that was, but it was just 20 conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. This would be my advice. Don't compare yourself to that 20 conversations. Know your numbers.
Yeah.
And what does that look like in your business? Though she was given the example of what worked in her business, which was 20 conversations, right? So 20 conversations. And again, that's back to the basics.
Gosh, Adam, how would I know what my number is?
I was just getting ready to say that because I know somebody is thinking about that or asking asking themselves that question.
I'll let Coach Crompton answer that because he knows how to find that out. Go ahead, Coach.
You need to track everything.
That's right.
Track your conversations to appointments. Track your appointments to listings or buyers taken. Track your buyers taken and listings taken, the listings sold. And next year you have a business plan on how to do it more or do it less or whatever.
Go back and track dials. Track your text. Like, where are you getting the most response from? How many dials did I have to make to get one person to pick up? How many
There's systems that help you do it. Like I have a Mojo dialer, like it tracks it for me.
Yeah. That's great. That's really, really good. Okay.
Don't transition from that because I want to show something. Terrie, you'll appreciate that.
I will.
So this is
workout.
Wait a minute. Is that an age thing? Was that?
This is old school. I wanted to see that this is.
Keep it
so
simple.
You can see that those. This now be careful now. This is very high tech, and I can't let the secret out about how I did this. Though it says weekly Big Rock report. Now here's something fun. Now I'm just being silly, but this is when I was a team leader. And my vision was, I'm a huge time man. Time is everything for me. And I knew what I had to accomplish. I just didn't know in what time. So I started tracking everything, literally tracking. I mean, again, basics. Let's just go basics. But then I was able to break down all the tracking into a monthly standpoint. So then I could almost predict the next month. So then I'd go back, or then I'd do the next month. And then I'd do the next month and I'd pause. Then I'd look at my monthly numbers, quarterly numbers, track them. And now I could almost predict the next quarter. As simple as that sounds, this took time from a habit standpoint to build, right? Because we're I mean, come on, we're squirrel based a lot of the times, and sometimes we don't build the right routines. Though I have a whole year, January through December, of tracking numbers. So I knew my time and I could tell you my number. So if Crompton wanted to go out and have a beer, I could say, sure, give me 2 hours so I can go set 5 appointments. And because I know from 5 appointments, I'm going to take 2 of them and then we'll go have a beer. Right? So, I mean, know your numbers, keep it simple.
Yeah, love
Yeah,
that.
I know.
One last thing that jumped out before we move on to this. I loved when somebody said you can have a bad day and you can even have a bad week, but you can't have a bad month. So the only way you're going to know that is if you are looking at your activities daily and you're looking at your goals, weekly, because it's okay for us to have a bad day and it's okay for us to even have a bad week. But when you're on track to hit something and do something great, you can't have a bad month. So you've got to know it. You've got to be in it every day so that you don't let the bad month creep up. And that's why Terrie taught me years ago, and so many of you have used this, but we use the 15th protocol tool. If by the middle of the month at 15th protocol, you're having a meeting either with yourself or with your team, if you have a team, or with your coach or whatever that looks like, to say, okay, am I on track? It's the 15th. Are we doing good and we're ahead and we can like relax a little, or are we way behind and we got to like really kick it into gear? What do we have to do? But I just love that you can have a bad day, you can have a bad week, but you can't have a bad month. So looking at your activities. John.
I had years and years ago in my one of my offices in the office here, I had a piece of paper that said, pretend you have nothing pending, active, or anything going on. What's the one thing you should be doing? And so like just getting that mindset when you said the 15 protocol, it's like you should have every day as your 15 protocol, right? Like it's just because life can happen at any moment. So be in that daily presence is good. That habit is huge to form.
Yeah. I'll add one thing to all of that, and I don't know if this is need to be transitioned somewhere else. And again, you all have heard this many different ways, is if you're not winning your morning, you're probably not going to win your day.
Yeah.
Right. I know that they talked about that. If you're not winning your morning, now everyone's going to have a different definition of winning. Define it first, right? Define your definition of winning for the morning. Maybe you're not a 4:45 a.m. type person. Maybe you're just I want to win a 15-minute segment of my morning. Fantastic. But find out what that winning means so that you can go into the prospecting portion of your day. So you can go into the appointment setting portion of your day in a mindset of winning and track it, right? Track what that morning is. Dana knows this. I mean, my mornings are my world, and I track the number of times that I've exercised. I track the number of journals that I do in the morning. Today was here, I'll tell you this real quick, Terrie, you'll appreciate this too, today was day 238 in a row of devotional reading, right? Track your wins in your morning. Win your morning.
Yeah. Love that. Show off. Exactly. I live with a freak of nature, in case anybody was wondering. He's a cute one, but he's a freak of nature. Really quick, thank you, Abby. So different breed, Abby said, yes, he is a different breed. If you look in the chat, Abby was able, I couldn't figure this out, and that's why I'm a geriatric millennial and she's a Generation Z. So, if you click on there's the mortgage rates graphic, save that, you guys, like just click on that and look at it later. Don't look at it now, but save that and download that. And if I were you, oh shoot, I don't have it. I'm off my game because my mom had surgery this morning, but I laminate everything that's important. I'm a lamination freak, and one of you guys is going to win something today, but I have that printed and laminated in my backpack. That's perspective. So use that with your clients. That should be in your newsletters. You might even direct mail that as a touch. You should have that on every listing appointment that you're going on. And when you're working with buyers, everything, because that gives them perspective. Oh man, we got to catch up on time. Terrie,
I was just going
to tracking mine. I want to know if I'm married then to the freak of lamination, because I mean, I'm pretty sure she would laminate Frankie's hair or his teeth. I mean, the lamination.
Don't tempt me. Terrie, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to go use every graph that you got from Mega Camp. And if you didn't get them, make sure that you get them from your market center, because every graph basically has a pattern, and all
Yeah.
those pattern, I'm always looking for patterns. If you lay those graphs out side by side, there's a pattern in those graphs. Not that every client's going to look at them, but you're going to be able to pull those out and say, look at the patterns. I mean, look at the mortgage rate, look at the unemployment rate, look at the home build rate. I mean, they all show us a pattern. And like Gary said, there's a 10-year cycle. And my favorite graph was the one where Gary said, don't think that it isn't time to buy real estate. Work in the middle. The highs and the lows are always going to happen. Continually work in the middle of those highs and lows. It's always a great time to buy real estate because we're always in a 10-year cycle. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
No,
an-
I love that. And I know if any of you are not with Keller Williams and you want those, just email me and I'll send them to you. No problem whatsoever. I have all of those graphs that she's talking about too. Okay, guys, I really want to pivot to one of the biggest reasons why I love going to things like this is because I get personal growth from it as well. So we're gonna have to move fast, but what was your all's biggest like takeaway personally, takeaway or aha for just personal growth? Tammy, do you want to go first?
You know that this one was going to be my favorite mega camp ever because I literally, so when I got about a month before I got the email that I won that cultural ambassador, and I called Dana, I was like, Dana, please don't say anything in the meeting. Please don't say anything. Because I just felt like unworthy and like embarrassed almost, but like excited, very excited about it. But I remember 4 years ago, Nancy Morgan and I were sitting at Mega Camp and we watched Teresa Kinney walk across the stage and we were crying over all the stories. And I looked at Nancy and I said, that's going to be me one day. And I probably won't start crying. I'm trying not to. But I felt that way. I felt like I knew I would be there.
Yeah.
I didn't know I'd be there this soon. But the cool thing about it is when I was backstage the day before on Tuesday, we were doing rehearsals. And I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see all these amazing people. And I won't fit, like I'm not supposed to be back here. And they were all just like me and like listening to their stories and things that they had done. I think what I realized is culture. And it's like this with everything that we do. It's not just about the big things, which we do big things too, but it's about all those small things that we do daily. And whatever your one thing is, whether it be culture, and I'm trying not to cry, so I'm trying to make this, my voice is like shaking.
You're doing good.
To me, it is, and the one thing is my favorite book out of all the books that I've read, because it's whether we just take one thing and we do it well, whether it's the culture or our Legion or listing appointment, whatever it may be, we just do one thing at a time and it makes big things happen. So
yeah, great
Anyway.
job. Hey, and
Congratulations.
Crompton will cry before you will, so don't worry.
That's the truth. Oh Lord, I was just sitting there like, it's not me.
I did. We bawled like a baby. I did good though. I didn't cry when I was coming out there. It was so exciting. But Gary says, and I have 2 big stars next to this: go small to go big, and that's everything that we do. So I love it when he says stuff like that. So
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. John, what about you?
Well, you stole my like little thunder there, the go small, go big. I've been very intentional in the last few years of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Cultivating my database, right? Like that's been my focus is cultivating. I used to do cold calls, expired, FSBOs, database. So my thing is go small, which is go into that really deep and bring value to the database. And one of the things I shared with my other Zoom earlier is
This is good, you guys. This is really good. It's a great idea.
So I went and got like I don't know if you can see, it's got the tabs in this book. It's an investor, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. I've never read it. I should have, right? I've heard Gary talk about it for years. So I got this for one thing, teach me to get really, really competent with the language I need to be using when I work with investors, because I work with them. 2, teach me confidence so I can become one. 3, teach my friends, family, and clients how to do that as well and build long-term wealth. And then 4, teach it to my database so I can, I'm going to try to like build a moat around those people in my world. So if I bring them value, hey, I can help you create in 20 years your college tuition payments for your children. I can help you do these things. And it's not a sales pitch. It's just more of a value pitch. It's a wealth building pitch. I think it's going to bring fruit to my business. So, it's another way to get deals when the market does change. It's another way to continue cultivating and have a reason to talk to my database, have a reason to talk to my past clients. I have a feeling it's going to be huge. I know I'm just going to, create a course to teach it and preach it. So.
Love that. That's just such a great idea.
Love that.
Thank you.
Terry, you want to go next?
Sure. So if you didn't watch the video, the last video that they put out that I've probably shared every day on social media now about who we are, to me, that just screams what is old is new about this company. So from a personal perspective, I've watched us go from a coaching and training company to a technology company to, Lord, who are we? Back to, we are that. We're back where we said we would be. So from a personal perspective, when Gary, I think it was at the CEO mastermind, he first had the t-shirt on with the buffalo running into the storm.
Yep.
It really brought perspective to me of how many years I've spent being the buffalo. Stop.
We cried too. We're all gonna start.
And I got so
Try
many,
not to. I don't even know you.
I got so many texts. I see some of you on the screen that, man, I'm at a time in my life where maybe I don't have to run into that storm anymore, and that's okay. I get to watch you all run into it. And it's a place in my world where I can go, okay, job well done. Look at these people. Look at how great they are. They're bigger than me. They're doing more than I did. I waited too long. And then to kind of watch legacy play out is pretty cool. And I don't know what about this mega camp was that did it. It wasn't that buffalo running into the storm thing. It was just part of it. But the video, if y'all haven't seen it, share it. And tell everybody you love, thank you all the time, because it means the world to them. And that was it. It just brought it all to a big emotional level. Like, okay, we didn't lose our identity. We really are a coaching and training company. And then the Inman thing came out yesterday. I don't know if y'all saw that or not, about that video. And it, again, solidified. I mean, it was like Gary announced it, is what the Inman article said, but he didn't. I mean, we're a coaching and training company. And we need to drive our stake into the ground about that.
Love it. Yep. Sorry guys, I don't know. I believe I went out somehow, but yeah, that video was probably my favorite part of Mega Camp for those of you that are with KW. It was amazing. It felt so good to just watch it and be proud for sure. Yeah.
So good.
Yes.
And
Love
Terrie, just to speak to your volume of leadership coaching, I mean, I know how many people you've impacted, and I don't know how many others you've impacted outside of that, but I have no doubt, I'll continue to quote Maxwell, is, you know, in the 5th level of leadership book, the 5th level is you build leaders that go build other leaders.
Yeah.
And that's what you do.
This isn't about me, but thank you.
Yes, she definitely does.
Definitely. And we'll always continue to too. Now I'm going to cry. Yep.
Gosh, you guys, sorry that we brought you a cry fest today. Like, we're serious around here.
That's what we're about.
It's passion. It's not tears. It's passion. That's
right.
what it is. That's
Joy.
what
Right.
from.
That's totally true. I'm reposting it. Thank you, Sarah, for sharing
Yeah.
the video in the chat too. Yes, everybody definitely go and watch that. Perfect. Thank you, Terrie, for sharing. Thank you. Adam, did you get to go next? Sorry, I bleeped out for a second, so I missed just a couple minutes.
Yeah, no, I'll go. So a couple things. Number one is how clear are you on your own personal vision? Right. And what does that personal vision look like to you, for you, and where is it? Right. And can you articulate what that personal vision is, whole life, right? What does that look like? We always talk about our business, right? And Crompton and I always talk about the millionaire word, right? We've got a book that says millionaire on it. But are you a whole life millionaire? And what does that look like to you? So that's the first thing. The second thing that I wrote down here is how frequently are you auditing your who's? Right? How frequently are you auditing the people that you surround yourself with, related to and in alignment with that vision? Are you being purposeful and intentional with surrounding yourself with the right people? Coach Terrie, Crompton. I mean, we got a culture award winner in our presence here. What are you doing to put yourself in the right room? I can't remember who said this, that we were at an event one time and it said, your name is in rooms that your feet haven't even entered into yet.
My favorite.
Right? And I thought that, that was so powerful. And gang, you're bigger than what you think, right? And I love that. So auditing your who's, auditing your vision, and then getting back to it. So one of the action items that I actually took away from that, and we just talked about it, is texting your people or emailing your people, right? Emailing your people, whether that's in your tribe, whether that's on your team, or whether it's in your organization. What do you like about doing business with me? Right? Because that defines your culture, is what we learned there with that action item. And is your culture in alignment with your vision, and so on and so forth. So that's that was the personal growth space that I took from that. And that's a few different ones, though. That's what I have.
Yep, I love that so much. That was one of my, I'm typing something in the chat too, but that was one of my biggest takeaways, was that exercise. And I also just loved the simple sentence that Trey Taylor, the author of A CEO Only Does Three Things, shared. And he just said, in moving from good to great, you care about people and you care about results. And if you do those two things, everything else falls into place. And I love that. And then I'm sharing this, I'm typing this in the chat, but one of my other favorite things that I got personally was the quote. I don't know, I think you say it, Rumi, R-U-M-I. I'm not really sure who that is. So if anybody knows or wants to Google.
What's his name?
But Rumi. Okay. Yeah. So he shared a quote, Trey Taylor did, and it said, be a lamp, a lifeboat, and a ladder. Help someone's soul heal. Walk out of your house like a shepherd. And I thought, man, that is so good. That's just like, personally, I just think that's such a great mission to live by. Okay, so two more things. Best tactical idea that you received. Like, what's something tactical that people can go and do for their business?
Hold on, let me scroll down.
Oh, I actually just had something happen. This is really cool. I had this on a closing, and then they talked about it when we were there, but because of the interest rates going up, people actually, the one that I just did, we paid probably $5,000 more in closing costs, but that was for buy down points on their loan in order for them to afford it. So, with this market that we're going into, I think that's something very tactical that we can look at doing, is paying those buy down points as closing costs for the buyers.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
If that's kind of where we were going, I thought that was kind of something tactical that we could take back with us.
Yeah, I love that. And some people I've been hearing some agents across the country saying that their sellers are advertising will buy down a point for a client, which I think is a great idea. Crompton?
Yeah.
Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
Go ahead, Roach.
I was just going to say, I think I already gave mine, and that's ask your people what if you want to define your culture, ask your people, what do you like about doing business with me? And again, that's your people you're doing business with from a buy, sells, invest standpoint, and or people on your team.
Love that.
So sorry. Go ahead, Dana.
No, I just was saying it was great.
I was going to say, my actionable item is what I just shared a little bit ago, guys. I'm going to create a class to teach my database. For years at this company, I heard build a database and didn't listen. I wish I listened in 14 instead of 18. So if you're me in this seat, start a database. Do not be fearful of communicating with it. If you want to see my emails, Dana will share them, obviously. So communicate with your database. Put a moat around those people, because if you know your numbers and you know your stats and you know how to speak the language of sales, which is the numbers, people are going to gravitate towards you. Don't pay attention to the opens. Don't pay attention to the replies. I don't pay attention to that stuff. My assistant does. And she's like, oh, now people are responding. I get phone calls when I talk to my past clients. I get your emails. I love it. I want to call you. So do stuff, and do not be afraid to email them and spam them. If they unsubscribe, good.
Yeah. Remember, guys, I love that, John, because remember, the days of the 36 touch are out the window.
We have a 72.
Yeah. The average is a 72, and
It should be more.
Those in Gary's top 100, well, top 200 now are averaging over 150. I mean, some of them are, and remember, it's because if you're an Amazon Prime user, you're getting touched every day by Amazon in some way, shape, or form, whether they're showing up at your front door or you're getting an email or they're telling you what you want to watch before you know what you want to watch. Like it's not the real estate industry, it's other industries that have changed the game for us on this. So like a 36 touch now is old school. And really, to be totally honest, the sad thing is most agents aren't even running a 36 touch. So it's really got to be a big focus. That's the difference in my opinion. You guys weigh in, I'm sure you'll agree, but is those how they always say the market share that you gain in a shift, you'll never lose, but the market share that you lose, you'll never get back. That's the reason. Someone else is, if you're not touching your people that many times, somebody else is going to. And that's where we run the risk of losing market share versus gaining market share.
Yeah,
We have a silly little thing that we talk about is how many restraining orders can you get? And it's silly, but again, no one's ever given someone a restraining order when it came time to database touching. Never, ever.
If you're thinking of things to like say to the people, I think things you should be tracking right now, especially if you have a seller database or people that own homes, you know, the drop in the monthly showings month over month. I don't know what you guys have, but we have Flex MLS, we have Market Monitor. If you don't know how to utilize that tool, become the best friend of that tool, study that tool. It gives you so much data, as big as you want, as small as you want, that you'll be the expert of choice. So track your monthly showings per listings. If you can, track your price reductions. We have a hot sheet. We can track it that way. Your pricing from January to today, share that information on what's changed in that aspect. Expired listings, you're seeing more of them. Share that with those people too, right? Because everyone thinks every home sells. Well, not anymore. Pending sales, show the data change in that. Like these things monthly are showing that you're on top of the market and the vibe of the market daily, where people are going to go to a thing and share one time, 1 year, and it means nothing, right? Like here's a year outlook. Like that does nothing for me if I'm not looking to do it at the end of the year, or the beginning of the year. So monthly data, track it, speak it. It's fun. Yeah.
Love it. Terrie, tactical
I'll
ideas?
wrap it up in a few words based on what Tammy said and John said and Adam said. Be the economist of choice. Whether it's you need to know your market and your data, you need to know how to buy points down. I mean, we haven't had to talk about that for years. Like that was a big thing when I got in the industry. We had to buy down 10 to 14 points just to get a home sold. People had to buy a home. So figure out what that looks like. Who is your expert there? But be the economist of choice and just be that person and connect with people around that, whatever it takes.
Yeah, love that. You know, one thing I wanted to share really fast, and then we're just going to close with one last question. But what this is just, I like very tactical ideas around things too. And the newsletters and the social media panel was like huge, because I think those are very, very important, especially moving into a shift where we need to touch people more. Did you guys know that 4 billion people in the world now have an active email address that they use? It used to be 7%, 25% is the benchmark open rate for our industry now. So if you're doing newsletters and you aren't getting a 25% open rate, that's the benchmark. And so in newsletters, they're saying now, I know some of you are going to find this hard to believe, but an email converts 50. This was like statistically proven from Jay Papasan, and I believe him. I don't know where it came from, but I believe him. But email converts 50 times more than social media actually does. The social media is extremely important because that's how they're seeing you. That's how you're staying top of mind. But as far as clicking or responding or emailing to actually work with you, email converts 50 times more than social media does now. And your emails, if they are hyper local and focused like on your database compared to just like a template, you know, that's just a random, then they're over 50% more likely to be opened and actually read through all the way from the beginning till the end. So I would challenge you guys, one, if you aren't doing email newsletters, like you have to be, and you got to pay somebody to do it if you're not going to do it. But number two, really start to pay attention to your open rates and track those. and watch them, because if they're going down, see what you actually sent, because that wasn't value to them. If you get one that has a really high open rate, what was in it? Because that means that that's value to what they're sending or what you're sending. And then also on the social media front, I heard Rachel Adams say, people may find you because you're in real estate, but they'll stick with you because of who you are and what value you give to them and how you make them feel. She received 131 referrals in 2021 from social media, and her most responded, is that the right word? Whatever that she sent out was she just sent out and Googled like where kids can eat free in her town. Jamie, do you remember that? I see you shaking your head. Where do kids eat free? And she came up with a list of all those places. And every month she sent where people could take their kids to eat free for the month. And she had the most response of that than anything else that she sent. And it had nothing to do with real estate. Like Mary Beth Minor, I think you were on here. You should be doing that. I can see you doing that. Take your kids and take a cute picture of them.
I'm on it, girl.
Okay, thank you. Good. But she said she's always kept it 20% about real estate, 80% about her personally. And then lastly, and this was a shocker to me, and I feel like I'm pretty on the up and up with social media. 10 stories a day minimum to hit the algorithms now. 10 stories a day to hit the algorithms. I know many of you just passed out. Shannon Doe is like, no way. But it's where it's at. So you guys we have to know those things, because otherwise we're just wasting our effort. And if you're going to do it, I mean, man, I don't know about you, but 131 referrals from social media in 1 year.
Pretty huge.
That's huge. I mean, that is huge. That is huge. Okay. I know we're up on time. Like one sentence. Why do you all continue to spend money to attend events and things like this? Terrie?
One thing, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Mm.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Adam?
Stay learning based, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Tammy?
A great culture will attract the right people and it will repel the right people.
Love that. Yeah, love that. Yes, love it, love it. Crompton?
There you go.
You get to grow your who's.
Yeah.
Find new who's.
Yes.
Find referral partners. Find people that are going to push you to do more. I mean, it's all about networking, connecting, and learning.
Yeah, I absolutely love that so much. All right, guys, I know we're a minute over. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tammy, John, Adam, and Terrie. Thank you, guys. Love you guys so much.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thanks,
Please send me
everybody,
those
for being
slides. I
on.
don't think my market center will. Send me those slides.
I'll send you the slides. Also, Abby's picking a at random winner. I will notify the person who won all of the laminated models from the Google Drive. If you did not, I have them all being laminated at Staples today, and I'm sending the bundle pack to somebody. And if you need those and you did not get those, like just email me, Dana Gentry at kw.com. We'll send you anything that you need. Everybody's like, pick me. You guys know me. I'll send them to the whole freaking people on the Zoom. So if you need anything, just let me know. Thank you guys for investing in yourself and being on. We'll send the recording, and I hope you have a fabulous weekend. Bye, Denise.
Thank you.
Thank
Remember
you.
me for your
Bye,
Charleston
guys.
referrals.
Yes. See you guys.
Yeah.